Good afternoon, everybody. Shavua Tov, and welcome to a brand new week of Israel Briefs, brought to you by Lay of the Land. I'm Raleen Marks, bringing you the top stories from Israel and the region every Monday to Thursday, right here on this platform and also on YouTube. You can find us at the Israel Brief, and don't forget to subscribe. But we have quite an incredible first story to bring you, and that is that yesterday Prime Minister Netanyahu, accompanied by the head of the Mossad as well as US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, flew to Saudi Arabia to meet with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Now, this is being described as an absolutely groundbreaking meeting because it's the first time that we have an Israeli Prime Minister on Saudi Arabian soil. And this comes at a time when normalization is becoming the hot topic here in Israel. And we're all waiting to see which country will normalize relations with Israel next. And if we can get the Saudis in the bag, that is absolute first prize. So what was discussed in the meeting? Well, we don't have too many details, but what we do know is that they reportedly discussed Iran as well as normalization. However, no formal deal has been reached, and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo described the meeting as extremely constructive, and we're going to watch this space very, very closely to see what transpires. Now, yesterday, the IDF struck targets in the Gaza Strip in response to rockets that were fired into southern Israel. One hit an empty warehouse in the coastal city of Ashkelon. Now, why were these rockets fired? And the reason is not what you would quite think. It's got nothing to do with normalization or US politics, but everything to do with the COVID-19 pandemic. Hamas have instituted a policy where they say if they need ventilators or any equipment, they will ensure that if they can't breathe, we can't breathe. That is quote unquote from senior Hamas officials. Now, Israel has been cooperating with the Palestinians, including in the Gaza Strip during the pandemic, making sure that they have been supplied with whatever equipment they need, including PPE, that's personal protection equipment, ventilators, food aid, medical aid, and hopefully soon vaccine aid. And this has been done by using channels such as the World Health Organization, the UN, other countries, as well as NGOs like Project Rosanna. And if you want to read more about that, there actually is an article on our website about the work that Israel has been doing in cooperation with the Palestinians during the COVID-19 pandemic, including training up medical personnel. Now, over the last week or so, Israel has embarked on deals with Pfizer, Moderna, and now AstraZeneca to buy up millions of vaccines to start vaccinating not just the Israeli population, but the Palestinian population as well. And this comes despite the World Health Organization in one of their most recent sessions focusing for 4 hours on Israel and accusing Israel of transgressing the healthcare of Palestinians while ignoring the global pandemic at large. And our final story you just cannot make up. Many of us are very active on social media, including on Twitter. And we've all noticed a promotion for a very bizarre panel. It's a panel that is hosted by Jewish Voices for Peace, an extreme left-wing organization that is extremely anti-Israel. And it is called Dismantling Anti-Semitism, Winning Justice. Now, you would think that this would be a panel while they're discussing dismantling anti-Semitism that would include people like maybe Deborah Lipstadt, who is a Holocaust historian, maybe Hillel Neuer, who works at the at UN Watch, looking at anti-Semitism at the United Nations, and various other high-profile leaders in the fight against anti-Semitism. But no, this panel features 4 of the most extreme and vociferous anti-Semites that we have on social media and also in the anti-Israel space. And they feature people like Peter Baynard, Barbara Ransby, Mark Lamont Hill, and one of our perennial favorites, Rashida Tlaib, the rookie congresswoman. Now, as you can imagine, there has been absolute outrage over this panel being hosted and the guests that it features, and many people saying, well, there's no better panel with credentials on anti-Semites than 4 leading anti-Semites. However, early this morning, Rashida Tlaib again proved her bona fides by tweeting out about President-elect Biden's potential pick for Secretary of State. It looks like Tony Blinken, who is Jewish and who is the stepson of Holocaust survivors, could be the next Secretary of State. And Tlaib tweeted out, well, as long as he doesn't infringe on her First Amendment rights to speak out against Prime Minister Netanyahu's so-called racist policies and advocate for the Palestinians. Now, this kind of language, which espouses dual loyalty, is a very old anti-Semitic trope, and you would think that she would have learned the lesson that was dealt out to her fellow congresswoman and squad member Ilhan Omar when she tweeted something like that a couple of months ago. So we will be watching very, very closely to see how this pans out. So those are the top stories making headlines. Don't forget to check out our content on our website at www.layoftheland.online. You can read Lionel Phillips's article on advice that you can take to keep strong and healthy during this pandemic. It's also up on our Facebook page. While you are there, join our community by liking us or following us and share our content. Oh, we know you've already subscribed to our YouTube channel. If you haven't already, you can find us at the Israel Brief. Click on that big red subscribe button and interact with us on Twitter. As you can see, we are very, very active, and you'll find us at Lay of the Land with the number 5. So it's at Lay of the Land 5. So with the opening edition of the Israel Brief for this week, I'm Rolene Marks, wishing you all a safe and healthy rest of the day, and we'll chat again tomorrow.